These are very tough videos to make because every year I'm like, what else could they possibly add? But in the past, the Apple Watch watchOS update of the year has always kind of surprised me, and I've been like, oh good, they did that thing that I was kind of very specifically asking for. They thought of that because your Apple Watch has kind of a minimal UI, which means that there's not a ton of changes they can actually make. But this is why I like talking about it, because it's like, what could make this experience even better than it already is? Granted, it's the most successful smartwatch. How do we make it even more enjoyable now? So here's what I think could happen, or what I would like to happen with watchOS 5. Starts with a suggestion that one of you fans brought up that I think is a really good point. We have cellular on our Apple Watch now, which is great for listening to Apple Music when you're on the go, but why is there no Apple Podcasts app? Lots of people listen to podcasts, and of course they want to listen to them when they go on their run or when they leave their phone behind so they can travel lighter. The AirPods and the Apple Watch are a great combination. Since we have cellular on our watch now, why not add the Apple Podcasts app to your Apple Watch so that you can go on a run, listen to a podcast while streaming? For some reason, that's not an option, and there's really no reason it shouldn't be there. You can even tell Siri to play specific podcasts and she'll know which ones to play, so why not apply that to the Apple Watch? I think that'd be a great addition, and if you added it, I think a bunch of people would be like, oh yeah, why can't you do that? Next is adaptive complications. This is not my own original idea, but it's something a lot of other people have wanted. The idea that your complications on your Apple Watch face should change depending on the context of what's going on or what your watch is going through at the time. So perhaps you don't really need your battery complication to show up unless maybe you're under 30%, maybe you're under 20%, maybe if it starts going below that, then have your battery watch icon show up just to let you know whenever you look at the time, hey, your battery's running low now. But if it's not under 30 and it's up in the 80s, 90s, 100, do you really need to look at that all day? Because Apple Watch battery life's been great. I can last 3 days without charging mine. So why do we need a complication in data on the screen to just keep telling us, yep, you're still fully charged, you'll still last 3 days? It's just kind of wasted information. But if that battery goes down, let some of those other complications kind of hide away, maybe some that aren't as important like activity, because the watch will be like, hey, I mean, you can't close your rings if your watch is dead, so make sure you know it's going to be time to charge soon. Another really useful one would be having cellular data complications on other watch faces opposed to just the Explore watch face if your watch leaves the range of your phone or Wi-Fi, and then cellular is activated on. Not only will you get those cell dots, but maybe you could get bars just so it fits in the more modular watch faces. It doesn't have to be just the Explorer watch face. But yeah, once you connect to your phone or your Wi-Fi again and you're not using cellular, then yeah, have those cell dots disappear and turn into the date or your activity rings or something else. Just so that you can see how strong your connection is with cellular with all these other watch faces that are really cool. Some of us don't want to just use the Explorer watch face, but we also want to see how good our cellular connection is when we leave our phone behind. I'm sure there's plenty of other instances in which this could work too, like maybe if it's later in the day, have the activity rings show up in one of the complications because now it's showing you, hey, you're falling a little bit behind, but in the morning, obviously your rings are not going to be very far closed because you just woke up. Maybe you don't need to show us that when we first wake up. Just provide a lot more options and kind of contextual learning for when specific complications show up, just to make watchOS even smarter. All right, so after that, a lot of these are kind of very specific, but a lot of these very specific requests I had for watchOS 4 actually ended up happening, so that's why I want to say them now. But I love using Apple Pay on my watch, though I wish I could use the digital crown to scroll through all my different cards, because sometimes I want to buy something with my Apple Pay cash card, sometimes my credit, sometimes my debit, and it can kind of get annoying when you double tap on the side and then start swiping between them, where it would be a lot easier if I could just use my digital crown to scroll between my different Apple Pay cards. I know that's very specific, but back when we had watchOS 3, you couldn't scroll through your watch faces with the digital crown. Then watchOS 4 came and you could, and I felt like Apple watched my video and heard me, so let's hope they watch this one. So of course, with any watchOS update, we want to see more Apple Watch faces, more customization, more options. We get this every year, and watchOS 5 should be no exception. But on top of that, there actually have been some leaks and rumors to support that the next operating system for watchOS could get third-party Apple Watch face support. Now, having used Android phones in the past and seeing how cringy and how ugly a lot of third-party watch faces can be, I can kind of understand why Apple has delayed this for so long and why they're not that interested in it, because they're like, I don't want people or third-party business businesses ruining our beautiful Apple Watch display and making it into some ugly watch face. And that's why Apple's only been using the current watch faces, but they may treat it a little bit differently than Android Wear or Wear OS by maybe making it like their iOS App Store. They have to verify these watch faces before they go online. Apple has to look at them, make sure they're not too crazy, make sure they're not stupid, and if they're all good, they'll be like, okay, this can go on our store, but I think they'd have to filter through a lot of junk, and that's kind of why they've delayed third-party watch faces for so long. But every year, I feel like they're running out of things they can add with watchOS 5, so I can kind of understand why they're seeing adding third-party watch faces as a reasonable inclusion now, because they need something. They need some reason for you to update. And it does make me wonder, will watchOS 5 still work on the original Apple Watch Sport models? Probably should, but we're also getting to that time where those watches are going to be getting pretty old, and maybe they won't run it as well. The next one is also another very specific thing, but it's something that kind of bugs me. iCloud Messages works on iOS 11 now, so all of your messages and stuff can be stored in your iCloud storage, but that doesn't apply to your Apple Watch yet, which is kind of confusing. Meaning if I delete messages off my phone, they will also be gone on my iPad, which is kind of cool since it's built in the iCloud. However, the watch still wants to store all these messages locally, which means that when I go into the Messages app, all these texting conversation and all these texts that I deleted earlier, you know, like carriers sending you texts and random spam numbers texting you stuff, you want to delete those, but then when I go into the Messages app on the Apple Watch, they're all still there. They're all taking up storage on this thing. And I'm like, no, get rid of those. So iCloud Messages is great. Let's apply that to Apple Watch as well, so that when we delete something off of our phone, it's also gone on our watch. By the way, that should go to macOS as well. They don't have it there either. Let's hope that at the next WWDC, we kind of get a well-rounded iCloud Messages support. All right, so if you're a long-term viewer, you've probably heard me talk about this before, but I think the Apple Watch battery is really good. You can get a maximum of 3 days out of it and probably a minimum of 2 days out of it. And I think that since a lot of people just charge it at night when they go to sleep anyway, you could provide a different theme option for people who don't care too much about their battery lasting 2 days. This is light mode. There's not really a good way to show it, so I just kind of use Smart Invert on my iPhone to give you an idea, but the idea is it would match the way iMessage and other apps on your iPhone look already. Because of preserving battery life, all the apps on your Apple Watch usually have a lot of dark space, and they leave a lot of pixels off, but personally, I think the battery is great, and I would like to take a cut in battery life if it meant I got a different UI change. Like perhaps on the Apple Watch home screen, you could change the background to something blurred. Obviously, you don't want it to look too weird, but just a UI change so that people can look in your watch and be like, oh, he's on watchOS 5, I can tell. Even if it means that your battery life won't be as good with that OLED display. And then lastly, this is kind of a idea that I think a lot of people would like to have as an option, maybe not turned on as default, but the Apple Watch batteries, as I've said, are pretty good, so why not provide an always on option that's very, very dim. No color or anything, not too much detail, maybe just the time, maybe just analog time for when your watch face is not completely turned on, just so that people who complain about not having an always on display can actually have that option if they need to, because I don't really think it would affect the battery life on your watch that much, just to have a tiny bit of pixels on so that you can check at it without having to tilt your wrist and look at the screen. I would not use that per se. I'm not really a fan of always on displays. It kind of bugs me, but hey, when we're talking about what they need to change with watchOS 5, the list of ideas is constantly shrinking every single year. We're like, what else could they add? So that's my list. That's the things I think they could do. Will they do it? Probably not all these things, but maybe some of them. But I'm still very curious to hear what you guys think might happen with watchOS 5. And don't worry, I'm still working on my iOS 12 video, all the things I would like to see happen or all the things that could happen, because yes, we're counting down the days before WWDC. I'm very excited to see what we're gonna get because it's free updates across all of the Apple ecosystem. So it's an exciting time for all of our Apple products. But for sure, yeah, let me know all your ideas for watchOS 5. If there's anything I didn't bring up, please let me know in the comments down below. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.